Elie, before we started the recording, I was telling you that I had a tough time talking to people, talking to customers, because I was a very technical person. But I see like throughout your career, you've always been consumer facing. You've always solved problems. You had to deal with people. Can you talk to me a bit about that experience? Is this something you're just born with, like you're able to communicate with people and clients, or did you learn over time?
I think a little bit of both, to be honest. For people, I think it's very useful to get into sales early in your career life or early in your life. I've always had an easy time adapting to new environments, speaking with people. I'm able to speak five different languages. I
Wow.
communicate quite well. I like to think. But more so when it comes to sales, when I came to Canada about 10 years ago now, my first job was a door-to-door salesperson.
Mm.
I was selling internet services. I would go knock on doors, tell them about some of my offers. A lot of the doors will get slammed on me, on my face. Some people would be curious, they'd listen. Some would invite me into their living room, and I would sit down with some sheets and explain to them some of my offers. So I think, yeah, when we think of salespeople, we think nice suits, nice haircut, somebody who's able to talk fast,
Yeah.
good with women, things like that. But what it comes down to really, the most, I think the most successful salespeople are people who can be consistent with their numbers, especially in building a business or if you're selling some kind of service, knowing how many people you need to reach out to hopefully garner interest in your product. And yeah, when I did door to door salesperson, I would go through maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 different doors per evening. I would go usually after when people would come back home from work. So starting at 3 p.m., 4 p.m., I'd go knocking on doors. And I knew if I hit maybe 50, 60 doors, maybe I'd get two, three sales. And the numbers were pretty slim. It's not that much. It's a lot of walking, especially in the winter. It's a lot of walking to get two, three sales per 50 knocks or 60 knocks. But at the end of the day, you work on your elevator pitch. You work on charisma is usually, I guess it's kind of natural to some people, but you can still work on it by speaking to a lot of people, getting comfortable speaking to people, knowing that you need to hit your numbers, and then sooner or later it just comes natural, I guess. But in the beginning, especially, I think hitting your number is vital to getting comfortable and talking to people and growing your network.
And do you think like it's necessary to have thick skin? Do you sometimes like get comments and like makes you super uncomfortable?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's a strange, as you mentioned, it's a strange time to go door to door now that you have Facebook Marketplace and you have all these marketing tools like
Yeah.
Google and all these things. Like, why go knock on people's doors? Um, it's maybe not the fastest way of growing, of gaining attention to your product, but it's. I think it's a very vital way of learning how to approach people. We were all young at some point, going to bars, trying to speak with women, trying to learn these skills that would garner attention. And I think door to door is so nerve wracking when you first do it, but at some point it just comes second nature. You just knock on your door and you look at people and you say, "Look, I've got this product to sell. Either you're interested or you're not. What's the worst that's going to happen?" They shut the door and say, "I'm not interested." All right, we'll go to the next door, and it just builds the thick skin in that process. But you have to be willing to take that risk, I would say, to speak to strangers, to go up to them. We used to do campuses as well, like at McGill or Concordia. We'd go stand up with a stand and trying to catch people walking in and out of subways, and you kind of feel like you're asking for money or begging for money. But at the end of the day, you're just asking questions.
Yeah.
If people are interested, great. And if they're not interested, they're not. Then you just have to look at it that way and say life goes on afterwards.
Yeah, I guess so. But well, like everything else, I mean, practice does make perfect. And I think I read this somewhere just as you described it, when something becomes so natural, you know that you've mastered the skill. So right now,
Yeah,
I think if you go to knocking on doors, you're not really gonna be afraid of any response. I think you've heard everything by now.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, the first few, I think I would have to work up the courage again, because it's a
Mm.
muscle memory thing. But yeah, once you get to the 10th door, the 20th door, you're just going through the process, and it's no longer as nerve wracking.
So then you start working at Tesla and Apple. So what exactly were you doing there? Is it also customer facing, consumer facing? What was it?
Yeah, mostly so. I mean, I did the door to door for a couple of months and then moved on from it because, to be honest, I didn't enjoy it too much. It was my first experience with the Canadian winter, and I was like, you know what, I need somebody that's indoor, something that's
Yeah.
indoors, you know. So yeah, I worked for Apple and Tesla, both basically as a salesperson. I was on the floor. You go in with a phone problem, I would be one of the first people you would speak to. Similar to Tesla, if you're interested in the products, in the cars, and looking to buy a new car, I'd be one of the first people you speak to. I think it was called product owner or something like that, product specialist. That's what it was. And yeah, it just gave me more exposure to people. At Apple, it gave me exposure to all kinds of people. At Tesla, it gave me exposure to pretty wealthy people, especially at the time when they only had the two models, the Model X and Model S, which were easily over $100,000 cars. So I got to learn how to talk to people, learn how to read people, got to see if someone was serious about buying cars or not. So this is all really in the sales environment that later on helped me quite a bit when I got into recruitment. Just overall having conversations with people, helping them make purchases, helping them improve their lives with the products that I was selling to them. So yeah, that was kind of that period.
Elie, I'm curious, after doing this for a while, do you know if it's BS or someone's actually willing to buy the car? Like, can you spot this from the first 5 minutes?
Yes, a lot of the time, yes, actually, because people that want to show that they have money tend to not have money. You know, people that want to
Mm,
come in and try to impress you, and then you ask what we would call qualifying questions, like where do you live? That's just knowing someone's postal code. You can tell what kind of area they live in, but of course we don't try to judge. You know, anybody could
yeah.
have money hidden somewhere. You know, even if they drive up in a Honda Civic, maybe they can afford a Tesla. You don't want to be shooting yourself in the foot by treating them differently. So of course I treat everyone as respectfully as I could, but at the same time, depending on the types of questions they would ask, the requests that they would have, you know, in the back of your head, okay, this person is serious or not, depending on how they carry themselves. So yeah, a lot of the time it's not a guarantee, it's not 100% factual, but yeah, a lot of the times I would say I can tell if someone's bullshitting me or not.
So was recruitment the natural evolution from sales? I mean, now you're on the other side. Now people got to
Yeah,
talk to you.
yeah, I didn't actually know much about recruitment when I got into it. It was someone that reached out on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I've got a sales slash recruitment opportunity for you." And I leapt at it and tried it out. And it was very similar in sales because I worked at an agency at the first
Mm.
my first few months in recruitment. And that one you had to chase people out. I mean, I was calling people at their desk, at their work desk, trying to headhunt them. You know, trying to um, get their attention within a couple of seconds because if you're working somewhere and you're picking up the phone and someone's talking to you about a job opportunity, you probably don't want to talk too loudly and show your interest right away. But yeah, it was a natural transition, I would say. It's similar in a sense that you're still reaching out to people, talking to them about something that you have to offer. So yeah, when it came time to make the switch, it was pretty natural to me.
So if you had to compare sales with recruitment, like tell me which one did you feel more comfortable with? Is it like completely two separate things, or there's got to be some kind of transferable skills, right? You said you were still chasing people and talking to people, but it's still a very different environment.
Yeah, I mean, in recruitment, people need jobs.
Mm,
So I find it's a more natural sale to make. Even when I worked for Apple, like Apple products are so strong, they sell themselves. You know, you don't need to be talked into buying an iPhone or buying an iPad or whatnot. Either you love the product and you're all in, or you don't like it. You know, when it comes to recruitment, everybody needs jobs. And with the feature in LinkedIn that tells you who's openly looking for something, it makes things a lot easier. You know, these are things that weren't available 8, 10 years ago. So you really had to guess who's looking for a job and who's not. And of course, you have the feature of having people apply to your job. So automatically, if 10 people apply to your job, you know at least there's some interest there.
mm.
So these are kind of, you're automatically getting hot leads, as they would say in sales when you work in recruitment, as opposed to proper sales where you're really reaching out to people and hoping they're interested in what you have to offer or sell.
So before we move on, like what's one piece of advice you can give to people who are getting into sales or want to sell something? Like what's the one thing that really helps?
I would say learn to get turned down. Learn to get turned down as much as possible. Everyone has to go through that process of walking up to a girl or walking up to a guy and shooting your shot and getting turned down. It's the best way of learning. You fail until you no longer fail, or you fail less. I guess would be the way to put it. Um, Learn about the law of averages, learn about hitting your numbers, try to get an idea of how many people you have to call, how many people you have to meet in order to get your sale, and just stick to your numbers. It's really as simple as that. It's if you're hitting your numbers consistently, your elevator pitch gets worked on naturally. It becomes second nature, and then eventually you find yourself finding an easier time speaking to people. As long as you know at the other end, the worst thing that can happen is a no. And if you get you're not getting hit in the back of your head, you're not getting spat on, you're not getting any of those things. At least
So
in
it's
this part of the world.
it's a numbers game. That's all it is.
Exactly. That would be my advice. Stick to your numbers.
And so Elie, you get a bunch of other jobs and then you decide to start your own company. Talk to me about Miami Nash. What is it and why did you start it?
So yeah, I'll tell you quickly the story behind the idea. First of all, I have to give credit to a friend of mine that we were sitting in my parents' basement maybe 10 years ago now, and we're talking about, we're in our early 20s. We're talking about making it, being successful, and he comes up with this idea of doing Airbnb cleaning.
Mhm.
So this was Airbnb was popping off at the time, and he said, "Yeah, it could be a good opportunity for us to look into." And at the time, I wasn't very much interested because I had other projects going on. I had specifically a project with my dad where we were looking to own or open up a franchise for A&W. So we were on a waiting list, and that was going on the side. So I didn't really have the opportunity to think about anything else. And then COVID hit as soon as we were about to sign the lease for a location. And then all the craziness happened during COVID. I lost my job. My wife lost her job. And then everything was uncertain. Even up to today, a lot of the market is still uncertain. And
Yeah.
maybe a year and a half ago, I started thinking, well, what if we came up with a backup plan? Something simple, straightforward that doesn't require too much investment, something that we can do on the side and grow it to the point where we can rely on it fully at some point. And then I thought about what my friend was talking about 10 years earlier, a cleaning business, but I didn't want to do a Airbnb cleaning. I wanted to do more commercial and residential cleaning. So get bigger contracts, something more stable, more frequent. And then, yeah, that's when I spoke to my dad about it. I spoke to my wife about it. They were all in, they were interested. And I said, all right. I started playing with the website. I started playing with the logo on Squarespace and all of that. And then next thing you know, it was launched. And then we slowly grew it.
So what's the concept? So you try to get big contracts, you're talking like hotels or big commercial place, and you try to like get recurring cleaning of the location. So that's what you
Yeah,
mean by stability.
yeah, exactly. Well, in the beginning, we took whatever we can get. We weren't being picky. We just put it out. We said commercial and residential cleaning. Whoever calls us, we'll pick up the phone and we'll try to adapt. We try to act professional, act like we know what we're doing, even though we don't. Obviously, we know how to mop and vacuum, so we thought we'll just start off with that, and then we'll figure the rest out as we go. And yeah, it's the first few clients that we had were always pretty much residential. I would say the first 5 6 months were mostly residential clients, and then we put out more advertising for commercial clients, and we were getting calls for condo buildings, office spaces, and things like that. So we stuck to that. Right now, we're kind of focusing more on office space and condo buildings because those are the potential that we're seeing. So we're a little more focused on that nowadays. We kept a handful of the residential clients that are still in our books, but we're focusing mostly on buildings.
So what's been the toughest part? I mean, you've been doing this for half a decade, more than that. So what's been the toughest part? Was it getting those big contracts? Was it churn? What is it?
There's multiple challenges. When I first started, I thought the biggest challenge would be getting clients. I would say the biggest challenge is actually the workforce,
Uh-huh.
getting people to buy into to what you're selling, getting people, especially in residential. We had a very tough time maintaining workforce with residential cleaning because um, the hours weren't as consistent. You know, sometimes you have to go clean in the morning on a Saturday. Sometimes you'd go on a Monday. So we had a hard time attracting people to those kinds of jobs. But once we got into the commercial space, we get more consistent working hours. Obviously, when you're too small in the beginning, you can't offer benefits and a lot of advantages. And naturally, people want better, so they'll probably work with you for a couple of weeks, couple of months, and then as soon as a better opportunity pops up, they leave you hanging in the wind. And I always wanted to get away from the cleaning myself because when you first started, we were doing the cleaning ourselves, but you can't grow a company if you're knee deep in cleaning toilets and whatnot. But when people leave you hanging, you're forced to go in and do the cleaning yourself. So that I would say that was probably the biggest challenge that we faced in the beginning, until we got big enough to get better contracts and more stable hours, I would say.
So how are things looking today?
Looking okay. I mean, we're nowhere near the numbers that we want to be in order to leave our current jobs. I don't even know if I will completely leave my recruitment responsibilities anytime soon. I'm happy working after hours on the company and then doing my day job as usual. I'm grateful that my wife can help me out. You know, she has flexible hours. My dad can help me out with all the accounting stuff, and he's available to pick up the phone during the day if I'm in meetings or whatnot. So overall, I'm just hoping my family gets involved more and more. I have a younger sister who's in her 20s. Probably she can help out. My mom, who's also in her 50s, that she's still able to help out in some ways. And yeah, so we're just hoping to keep it growing, keep it a family business, and hopefully at some point everyone's involved, and then we'll see. We don't think too far ahead. At least I'm not thinking too far ahead. I take it a year at a time, and then we'll see where we are in 2 3 years.
You know, Elie, what I like about what you said is you're not pretending that you figured out everything about
No,
the business and you're learning as you go, right? It's not like you've had 10 businesses in the past. But let me turn this question around. Do you feel like, thanks to this experience, if you were to start something else in a couple of years, do you feel like it would be a lot easier for you now that you've been in
uh,
the trenches?
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's the fastest way to learn is to fail. That's
You've
what I
been
was
saying
taught.
that since the beginning of the conversation. So,
I'm telling you, it's. I probably learned my first year in this business. I probably learned more than I did in my 4 years of university. I went to business school, and they teach you a lot of theory things. But when you're knee deep trying to figure it out yourself, there's so much into it. I mean, AI, Chat GPT, I would say, has been incredibly helpful. It was nowhere near as powerful as it is now when I first started the company, but now it can do a whole business plan in a matter of minutes for you. It can do your marketing campaign. It can do all that stuff, which is great. But when you're figuring it out with paper and pen, staying up at night trying to figure out, trying to read on Reddit and see what other people are doing to grow their business, there's no better way to learn. I find that it's deeply gratifying. It's deeply resourceful to just throw yourself in there, figure things out. You know, we started the company. I think I used maybe $300. I went on Amazon, got a mop, got a vacuum cleaner, got a few things, got some microfiber cloths. Went to my first client, and I'm used to cleaning my home, you know, but cleaning someone else's home is completely different. And so you try, you clean, you do the best as you can. I don't. There's very little people that stay with us from the beginning. A couple of homes that I might not have cleaned very well when I first started. But if you ask me now, we've got a method down, we've got our checklist, we've got multiple systems that we use, multiple applications that we use to run the business. And yeah, given what I know now, if I were to start over, it would the ramp up process would be a lot faster for sure.
let me end with this, Elie, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you hit me with an elevator pitch? So if someone's watching,
Mhm.
what's your service? What do you do?
So we provide eco-friendly commercial services, commercial cleaning services to residents, residents, I would say, and as well as buildings such as office spaces and condo buildings, to be precise. We use eco-friendly products. I know everybody says it because it sounds nice. What does eco-friendly really mean to people? So we focus on three things that are non-toxic, so kids can eat it, dogs can eat it, it's not harmful to them. We use a lot of natural stuff like vinegar and things like that. Eco-friendly practices, so we reuse a lot of things that for cleaning, like such as the cloths, the mops, anything we can use, we can reuse, wash, reuse. We do that continuously. If you live in the city, great. We'll use the subway to get to you. The subway is electric. We reduce emissions from driving our cars or using buses to get to you. All our stuff is biodegradable. What does that mean? It means it breaks down naturally as well. From our bottles to the mops to the paper towels that we sometimes use. All that is biodegradable. So we focus a lot on safe products, safe cleaning products that's great for not only the environment but as well the residents that smell it or that come into contact with it.
Elie, I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for making the time, Antoine. It's been a pleasure.